Finally, new rule, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
It started with a cheap shot. Whoopi Goldberg tossed a smug jab at Bill Maher on The View, thinking it would fade into the noise of daytime TV. She couldn't have been more wrong. Because here's the thing, taking a swing at Bill Maher isn't bold, it's reckless. He's not a celebrity who hides when targeted, he thrives on confrontation. And this time, the blowback was immediate. Maher has built his entire career on skewering hypocrisy, on torching the sanctimonious. And this time, Whoopi was in his sights, whether she expected it or not. But the backlash didn't just stop with Maher's reaction. Enter Megyn Kelly. The moment she heard the comment, she wasted no time. She lit the fuse and set the stage for a media storm. Kelly didn't tiptoe. She torched Whoopi on her own platform, calling her out in a way that couldn't be ignored. The headlines were instant. The spotlight was unforgiving.
She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going.
Suddenly, what was meant to be a throwaway remark had morphed into a full-blown cultural firestorm. Hollywood egos collided with political heavyweights, and the battle lines were drawn. That single jab, once fleeting, had spiraled into a war of words, and the battle was only just beginning. Then came Maher's clapback. Only, it wasn't a clapback, it was a detonation. He didn't return fire politely, he obliterated the stage from a distance. No fake smiles, no friendly sit-down with the panel. Bill Maher doesn't do coffee table diplomacy. He went straight for the jugular, dismantling the View piece by flimsy piece. He exposed what he called the echo chamber of daytime delusion, stripping away the show's shiny facade. And the fallout was immediate. Before we go deeper, hit that like button and subscribe. Whoopi's original comments, gone, scrubbed from rebroadcasts like they never happened. But the internet never forgets. Social media lit up like wildfire. Millions were shouting karma as if divine justice had finally landed on Goldberg's doorstep. But Maher, he wasn't buying into the karma narrative for even a second. Cool, razor-sharp, and unshaken, he leaned back with his trademark smirk and dismantled the idea on live TV. There's no such thing as karma, he said. Life isn't keeping score. It's random. It's brutal. And sometimes it's darkly hilarious, like a big game hunter trampled by an elephant, then eaten by lions.
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner. Because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that.
Maher wasn't here to play victim, and he wasn't going to let Goldberg or anyone else frame his narrative. And just like that, the insult became something bigger. It became a cultural fault line, a crack splitting wide open under the pressure of truth versus performance. Maher wasn't out for revenge. Revenge would have been too easy. What burned him wasn't the sarcasm. It was the way the audience roared with performative glee, as if mocking dissent was a form of victory. That was the real spark, the smug applause, the stage cheer, the illusion of a queen putting down a heretic. That was the moment that lit the fuse Maher refused to ignore. And from there, the dominoes started to fall. And just when it seemed the circus had already peaked, Megyn Kelly stepped in from the sidelines. She didn't need to walk onto the View set. She didn't need their stage. She had her own. One segment, one hot MIC, one camera, and she detonated. Kelly's delivery wasn't loud, but it was lethal. She didn't scream. She didn't flinch. She cut with precision. Each word landed like a sniper's shot. She called out The View with icy calm, not as a talk show, but as something far more insidious, a daytime cult with coffee cups and cue cards.
Attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to go.
hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera.
Kelly wasn't just commenting. She was dissecting. She peeled away the glittery facade, exposing the carefully orchestrated chaos behind the smiles and applause breaks. Her accusations were brutal. She accused the panel of staged outrage, manufactured unity, and enforcing an unspoken rule: toe the narrative or get steamrolled. It was surgical, merciless, and devastating. Kelly wasn't just criticizing. She was unmasking the formula. She revealed how dissent was punished, how uncomfortable truths were drowned out with forced laughter, and how the illusion of empowerment was weaponized to silence any voice that dared to stray. The internet split into 2 camps. Some hailed her as brave, others called her bitter, but no one could deny the impact. She had kicked the hornet's nest, and the swarm was out. And while Kelly fired precision strikes, Maher was still out there lobbing bombs. Together, without even coordinating, they created the perfect storm. Kelly's words echoed with an eerie resonance. She said what millions had thought, but never dared to say out loud. She reminded the audience of the countless legal notes and on-air corrections, moments that exposed the show's shaky foundation. Not 1, not 2, but 4 legal corrections.
Another legal note. Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked,
a record that underscored her point. The so-called champions of truth couldn't even keep their own story straight. And she didn't stop there. Kelly accused The View of turning debate into a scripted circus, each host playing their part, one outraged, one silent, one pretending to mediate, all united in protecting the narrative. Guests who challenged the script, she asked, they are cut off, talked over, or escorted off stage. It wasn't just commentary, it was an autopsy. Kelly wasn't debating them, she was pronouncing time of death, and the silence that followed was deafening. Not a single host fired back, not Whoopi, not Joy, not Sunny, nothing but quiet, strained smiles and awkward eye rolls. Because deep down they knew Kelly had ripped the curtain away, exposing the machinery behind the conversation. It wasn't a conversation, it was a loyalty test, a firing squad dressed up in designer blouses and staged applause. One woman, one MIC, zero mercy. Kelly's monologue hit harder than an entire week of The View's choreographed outrage. And then the controversy deepened because, out of nowhere, one host doubled down on the outrage with a jaw-dropping remark about the MAGA hat.
I mentioned this karma stuff on the show last week because I was relating how many texts and emails I got from people congratulating me on receiving a karmagram from the universe.
Will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them, as we discussed earlier.
The claim, wearing it was like wearing a swastika. Not criticism, character assassination. Maher, never one to bite his tongue, struck back instantly. I've never defended Trump, he said, and I'm not starting now, but I won't sit here and call half the country Nazis. That's insanity. The audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the script they were used to. This was Maher defying the rules of the echo chamber. You can hate Trump's policies, Maher continued. You can call him unfit, but despising his voters, that's half the country. Do you really want to live in a country where hating 50% of your neighbors is treated as virtue? I don't. That was the heresy, nuance, honesty, refusing to equate disagreement with evil. And it landed like a thunderclap. The studio went silent. The panel had no comeback, because for once the narrative cracked, and America was watching. The silence in that studio was more powerful than any rebuttal. Not one host dared to challenge Maher's words. Not one voice rose to defend the outrageous claim about the MAGA hat. It was as if the air had been sucked out of the room.
Form of Whoopi Goldberg's chastisement. So I thought this would be a good time for a little tutorial on karma, which, as Americans understand it, is nothing more than an extension of the common logical fallacy called post hoc ergo propter hoc.
4 years, The View had thrived on chaos, on clapping, shouting, and forcing dissent into submission. But this time, nothing, just stunned faces, frozen smiles, and nervous laughter that sounded more like defeat than confidence. Because deep down, everyone knew Maher had broken through the script. He had committed the ultimate sin, speaking with nuance, and nuance has no place in their echo chamber. Megyn Kelly, watching from her own turf, didn't let the moment pass. She went further, peeling back layer after layer of the show's facade. She called out the smug applause breaks, the predictable outrage cycles, the endless eye rolls designed to cue the audience into agreement. She accused The View of turning daytime television into a loyalty test. Step out of line and you're silenced. Play along and you're rewarded with applause. According to Kelly, it wasn't empowerment. It was performance, a glittering spectacle meant to disguise the intellectual emptiness underneath. And she didn't just throw out accusations. She brought receipts. She pointed to glaring omissions in their debates, fact checks that crumbled under scrutiny, and stories spun so sloppily they had to be corrected mid-broadcast. The so-called conversation wasn't real. It was theater, a soap opera with applause lines.
I think it's as bad as, like, the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of
January
The View
6th was
today.
an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust.
And once Kelly framed it that way, the illusion shattered. Maher, meanwhile, wasn't letting up. He called The View exactly what it had become, not a talk show, but a televised firing squad in designer blouses. His words were sharp, brutal, and impossible to ignore. He mocked the performative outrage, the gasps, the dramatic eye rolls, the choreographed meltdowns. It's Broadway, he quipped, only less honest, because in real theater actors admit they are acting. On The View, the performance is dressed up as truth, and that, Maher argued, is the real danger. He warned that real conversation was being sacrificed on the altar of moral superiority, that disagreement wasn't just unwelcome, it was treated as blasphemy. The audience didn't just watch, they felt it. Social media exploded with clips of Maher's takedown and Kelly's monologue. Hashtags trended. Comment sections lit up. The nation was buzzing with one realization: the curtain had finally been pulled back. And what it revealed wasn't pretty. It was a machine fueled by outrage, addicted to conflict, and terrified of losing control of the narrative. But here's the kicker. Maher and Kelly weren't just fighting back against insults. They were exposing something bigger, a culture that no longer tolerates nuance, a system that thrives on division because division keeps people glued to the screen. The louder the outrage, the more fragile the truth beneath it becomes. And Maher made it clear, he wasn't afraid to say the quiet part out loud. Kelly closed the loop with a brutal reminder. When everyone's reading from the same script, no one's actually thinking, she said. It was a line that cut deeper than any insult, because it was undeniable. By the time the dust settled, The View wasn't just facing criticism, it was facing exposure. The hosts hadn't been outbaited, they'd been unmasked. And the silence that followed, that rare and telling silence, spoke louder than any scripted clapback ever could.
Hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country. I don't hate half the country.
How dare you?
The battle lines are clear now. This isn't about left versus right. It's not about Maher versus Goldberg or Kelly versus Joy. It's about something much larger, reclaiming space for real dialogue before it's gone completely. Because when disagreement is treated like heresy, when every opposing voice is silenced, you don't get progress. You get polarization. You get resentment. You get a society that's easier to manipulate and harder to heal. And that's exactly why this fight matters. It's not over. It's just getting started. Maher knows it. Kelly knows it. And deep down, so do the millions who watched the silence on The View and realized, for the first time, the act had been exposed.